Camera! Action! Where the action is! Tony Rad.
Hey, I'm John Bollinger with Premier Guitar at the City Winery in Nashville, and I'm with Dawn Felder. Dawn, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So nice to be here.
I was reading about how you grew up. Your first band was with Stephen Stills, right?
Yeah, I had a little band called the Continentals, and Stephen actually showed up in Gainesville and just wound up being in my band. We were together. It was kind of a garage band. Our parents would drive us to the gig. My mom would drive us to gigs, and we got into all sorts of trouble together at fraternity parties that we were way too young to be doing. But yeah, and then he decided he was going to move to California. And the next time I heard from him was on the radio. I heard For What It's Worth, and I went, that sounds like Stephen. And it turned out it was.
Well, and then Tom Petty was in that same in that same group running around.
Yeah, that's great. That's right. I worked in this music store called Lipa Music, and I didn't get paid cash. I got paid store credit. So if I wanted a guitar or a string or an amp or cables or whatever it was, I'd have to work for it. They'd give me store credit, and then I could get what I wanted. And, usually, shortly after Christmas, all the young kids that got guitars for Christmas would come in and be complaining about their fingers, trying to learn, and I would be their teacher. And so one of the guys that came in, Tom, came in. I guess he was about 14 or something. He was playing in this little band called the Rucker Brothers Band, which was two brothers, Rodney and Ricky Rucker. Say that fast, 3 guys in a row. And both those guys were just thrashing guitar players. They had no idea of how to one play rhythm and one play lead. And Tommy was playing bass. He wanted to learn how to play guitar so he could front the band. So I started giving him guitar lessons. I think I worked with him with the piano a little bit. And then I went over to his house a couple of times and saw this garage band and went out to a few shows and just trying to help them. Look, one guy play rhythm, one guy play lead, and don't play when the singer's singing, that sort of stuff.
That's great.
It just kind of helped him out a little bit. And Tommy and I used to play on the campus of the University of Florida a lot. Our band's Mudcrutch later was his band.
Right.
And I had a band called Flow, and we'd do these free gigs in the park on Sunday at the University of Florida. But there were a lot of people that kind of grew up in that area.
Yeah, the Allman Brothers. And you actually hung with Duane back in the day.
Well, we were in battles of the bands. What used to be called the Spotlights, and then they were the Allman Joys, and then eventually they became the Allman Brothers. But they always won all the battles of the band. Duane was by far the greatest guitar player that I'd ever seen. He was also the first guy I ever saw play electric slide guitar. I'd seen a lot of blues guys play acoustic slide guitars, you can imagine, but he was the first guy that I saw play electric slide guitar, and he was just on fire.
Wow.
So we used to do these shows together during the summer when the University of Florida fraternities were on holiday. We'd all go to Daytona Beach and play over there in the joints, the dance clubs. And we'd always finish our gigs, and the four of us, Bernie and myself, and Duane and Greg, would go have breakfast at some diner, all-night diner. I was sitting there, I said, how do you do that? Every time I try to do it, the frets rattle. He says, oh, you got to raise the action. And I said, well, what's your tuning? And so we went over to his mother's house. I remember sitting on the floor in his mother's house. I guess I was 16, maybe 17. Greg was, 18 or something. They were a little older than I was. And Duane sat there and showed me the basics of how to play slide guitar. And so I guess I owe my original inspiration to Duane by watching him play, and then what foundation I started with came from him, showing me how to use it and how to play it and how to tune it. And so, but I never tried to copy him. That was just like trying to copy Hendrix or something. You're not going to ever sound like him, but just used the information he gave me and developed my own style. Although I play slide both in regular open tuning and I play it in E-tuning as well.
Right.
So you have to be able to use that instrument and play it in a lot of different tunings. So That's the Duane story.
That's amazing. And Joe Walsh, your bandmate, actually learned from Duane too, didn't he? To a certain extent?
Yeah, I understand Joe spent some time in and around Duane, but when we were together, we were just kids. You know, we were like 16, 17, 18, and he was already on fire. Like I said, he won every battle of the bands, whether it was Petty's band or my band or the Allman Joys or the Spotlights, whoever they were calling themselves. They were just the best musicians around. You know?
Gainesville, it's amazing how much talent came out of that little town.
Yeah, it is. I did this interview with Smokey Robinson, and the same sort of thing happened where they came from, you know, with the whole Motown thing. And Muscle Shoals was another little hotbed of record production. And for some reason, Gainesville wasn't. I don't know if it was something that was in the water that we were all drinking or something that was in the Gainesville green that we were all smoking. led us to prosperity in the music business. I think the latter, most likely.
Yeah, all right. Fabulous. And did Duane kind of inspire you on the Les Paul thing? Because you've always been to me, the iconic thing is you with the Les Paul or with your double neck.
Well, I didn't really own a Les Paul until early 70s, to tell you the truth. I always had Fenders or Sears guitars or Silvertone or something, you know, that I could afford. And the actually first guitar that I bought while I was working in Lipham's was a Fender Stratocaster. I love those guitars. The way they looked and everything was just great. So I started with a Fender, and then this black Les Paul came in that the store bought. And they had to send it back to Gibson to refinish it. It was like a Black Beauty, you know, with the gold pickups and hardware.
Sure, yeah.
And I said, I want to buy that. I'm going to buy that. When it comes back in, I'm buying it. I'm buying it. So while I was gone on vacation for about 2 weeks, it came back in like 6 months later, and somebody came in and bought it right out from under me. And I came back and heard it was gone. So I'd always wanted a Les Paul, and I missed that first opportunity. And later I wound up having more than I probably deserve, old classic ones. I met this guy in Texas named Tony Dukes. When we were going through Texas with the Eagles, he would always show up with a station wagon or a van. The whole back of it would be full of Strats and Telecasters and Les Pauls. And so I would buy just about everything he had in his truck. And what seemed like expensive at the time, by today's standards, was just a steal. The most expensive guitar I bought from him was my original '59 Les Paul Sunburst, and I paid $1,200 for it. And everybody went, "You're crazy to pay that.
You know.
Guitar's not worth that." And I went, "No." Okay, you know, and then I bought a ton of Strats and old Tellies, and I just Gretches, everything I could buy, I just wound up buying from Tony Dukes.
So the '59 is at home, but you're touring with
Yeah.
Well, let's hear about this guitar. What is the story?
Well, the story with this is, you know, I use a lot of custom shop replicas of my '59. They put out 300 of my Don Felder models, and I use those. I think I have 10 or 12 of those, and I've set aside 5 of them, so each one of my kids will get one after my passing. And then they made 150 of the 1275 double necks that they borrowed the original that's hanging in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They took it to their custom shop and matched the colors, the stains, the scratches. There's a split in the top of it, just all sorts of stuff. The way I had it wired, and they put out 150 of those, so I got some of those to leave for my kids as well. So,
that's great.
It was such an honor that Gibson asked me to do that, and so I guess I am more known for Gibson guitars than Fender guitars.
Yeah, well, Don, you're a big deal, so that's why they did it. You're a honest to God Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. So, and think about that. How many people from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame came out of Gainesville? It's amazing.
Well, you know, it's just a phenomenon. Like I said, I don't know why. We were really in heavy competition with each other, not only to get jobs, you know, to be hired, but also to just outplay each other. Everybody wanted to be the fastest gunslinger in Gainesville, you know, and play the best. And so we were always kind of pushing each other, like Walsh and I did. We just like push each other to raise above whatever you can just sit there and play.
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably it. Just seeing just that competition.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Beautiful. So is this actually a replica of your '59?
No, this isn't. I think I have 5 different rigs. No, I take about 7 different rigs. I have a complete set in Atlanta, another set in New York, a set in Chicago, a set in LA, and a set in Dallas. And then I have 3 FedEx sets that go out that I can FedEx just the basic necessities, and then we use backline stuff for other things. And this is one of those. This is like not the Don Felder issue, but it's a nice 59 reissue. I think Gibson just is making better guitars now than they ever have been. Usually what I do is when I get these, the first thing I do is change the pickups.
What do you have in these?
Well, I'm good friends with Seymour. As a matter of fact, I've known Seymour Duncan and his wife. His wife used to live with me. Don't get that wrong. Not with me personally, but we shared a house together, right? So she was actually living with Tommy Ledden, Bernie Ledden's little brother, and we wound up sharing a house, me and my wife and Tommy and Kathy, who became Kathy Seymour later. And so I've known her since like 73 or something. And so Seymour is so great. I go up to his custom shop, and we go into his custom shop and we wind pickups ourselves. We wind Strat pickups, and he's got a file in there. MJ, who's his main custom gal, has this file that has everybody's specifications in it, from Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix and Clapton and just everybody. You go, well, I want to make a pickup that's somewhere between this spec and that spec. I want to go right in the middle of it. It's the gauge wire and the number of wraps and the size and strengths of the magnet. So we'll sit there and just tell stories and wrap pickups. So I wound up finding this combination that I use from Seymour, and I put them in all my Les Pauls.
Right.
They look the same, but underneath the hardware, it's sort of like a sleeper hot rod, where it looks like a stock car, but underneath it, it's got a different kind of custom outfit.
Oh, cool. So does that feel a lot like does it sound a lot like your 59?
Very much like the old 59. And I was really particular when Gibson reissued those, that we went exactly the same kind of color and scratches and blemishes and checking on the finish and the wrapping on the pickups. The first couple of artist proofs they sent me, they didn't sound quite right, and I tried to make comments to them and phone calls about what they needed to do, and I finally said, you need to get the information from Seymour to wrap those pickups in, so they made it exactly like that.
Great. Okay, so this is awesome. Let's look at what else we can in.
Yeah, we can look at my double neck if you
Oh,
want.
yeah, that's the iconic one.
There you go. There you go, fantastic. Now, this, if you notice this, I kind of stripped the humbuckers covers off of these pickups, off the original model. And it's wired differently because when we recorded Hotel California, I think I played 16 different guitar tracks on that record. I played like reggae parts, and the acoustic 12-string part, power chord parts, and the descending harmony lines, and the solos, and just a bunch of different guitar parts. And then we got on a sound stage to try to figure out, how am I going to play all those parts? Am I going to put an acoustic guitar on a stand and walk up and lean over it and play the introduction and then step back and pull a Les Paul up and then put it down and go? I said, no, as soon as that guitar gets knocked off the stand, that's going to be a calamity, right? So I saw,
hey buddy, how you been, man?
Chet Atkins when I was 14 years old in Daytona Beach. And it was the first time I'd seen a stereo guitar. He had a Gretsch guitar that was wired in stereo, so the bottom 3 strings went out of one jack over to one amp on the side of the stage, and the top 3 strings went out of another jack to another amp on the top. If you listen to the way Chet plays, he always plays this bass part that goes boom, ding, 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 with his thumb, then he plays the melody on the top, right? So I was sitting in the audience, and he told the story about the Civil War and all the people that had died during the war. It's the worst war that America's ever been in because Americans were killing Americans. You know? And so we need to do something to heal this. And the way I've come to be able to help heal this is like this. And he plays Yankee Doodle Dandy on the bottom strings. Dun 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 dun. He says, and everybody knows the theme from the South, which is Dixie. So the next time it comes around, he starts playing both of them at the same time. One melody is coming out of one amp, and the other melody is coming out of the other amp. And not only was it really my first stereo experience, but I was just mystified that anybody could play 2 things at the same time, right? So it took me about a year to figure that out. of trying, what key did he do that in? How did he do that? Not the wiring or anything, but I finally figured it out on acoustic guitar, so I could play Yankee Doodle Dandy and Dixie at the same time. And it was like one night it just came to me. I woke up the next morning and, okay, I can do it. This is how I do it. But when I got on the soundstage, when we were putting together Hotel California for the tour, I thought about Chet Atkins having two outputs. And with the flip of the switch, I can go from this neck, which is the 12-string part, out of one output jack, and it goes into this Leslie effect. Sounds pretty much like the record.
Yeah.
And then when I flip this down, it goes to this neck and goes out of a different output into a regular lead amp. So you have literally two guitars just kind of glued together here.
Great.
Instead of having one on a stand and one...
Sorry. Sticky neck. Man, that sucks. Anyway, how you doing? It's Tommy. Hello. I'm just rocking and rolling with my lollipop. Okay, that's all. Live the rockin'. Oh, don't you love these? Seymour Duncan is a genius. Sharp. It's cold. They go sharp fast. The locking tuners, everything. It's just unavoidable. Stretch them. Oh, stretch. Lock. Come from underneath. Always come from underneath. You know what I mean? Like down and up. Right into the tune right there. Into. Come up and lock it like that. Trust me. Pull it. See it? Pull it out. Pull it. There it is. And perfect. Perfect. These are always good. A little sharp. I'll pull it and see. It might go crawl back up. So do a new one. Lock under, pull
really heavy. You know?
Oh yeah, that would
But
put you
Gibson
in
did a
traction.
remarkable job of reissuing those for me, so I was very delighted to do it. But
It's
that's
a
the story of
genuine
Double Man.
Gibson.
That's awesome.
59
it's gonna be hard to beat
Sunburst.
that, but let's look at another
Remake.
one. What else?
Okay,
Okay.
1980 was its
Gold
birth.
Strat?
VOS specs.
While we're waiting on that, Hotel
I mean, this
California,
is virtually a
I imagine, didn't
59.
you record
It's got
all those on your own before you brought it to the Eagles. You recorded the
Like
whole
between a 60 and a 59
I
neck.
recorded, I'd probably
Check.
say 95% of it.
Because I had it that made it that way
in
for me
my
there.
back
Seymour
bedroom
Duncan
on a T-Act
in here,
4-track.
designed for
Wow.
And,
Just bouncing
me. I was
back and
working
forth.
at Castle
it was
Music
you'd
Center
Fill up 3 tracks, bounce
in
it down to 1. Fill up 2 more. bounce it
Santa
over to the
Barbara,
other one. Just kinda
California,
kept
where I went
overdubbing,
my
and
senior
it
year of
kinda
high
gets
school.
degenerated, but you can hear a lot of the parts, you know,
Yeah.
including
And
the solo
college.
in the end. My first part
And,
of the solo, and
what I
some
can
of the
tell you
stuff
is that
Paul's played in the
my friend
second
Randy
half
J,
of it,
who eventually bought Castle
the
Music,
descending harmony lines
Santa
that I
Barbara,
played
moved
on
it to
the
State
record.
Street.
Just a bunch of it. It's all
That's
made it a
amazing.
success.
Here's our Goldie. Now, I wanted to. I build stuff out of spare parts. That's what this
Yeah,
is.
Oh, really?
he made it a
And like,
success.
so I find
Anyway.
bodies and pick guards and necks and go up and see Seymour and rewrap some pickups.
Don't
and
eat lollipops
change
and
the
play guitar.
electronics
You
to
get
run
sticky
to this
hands.
Clapton,
It's just a habit of
pick
mine.
guard. It's just a kind of a hodgepodge thrown together in a workshop.
Is that like a big
As far as
band or
vibrato, man,
I have
get
no
your
idea.
keep
Just
your
found
elbow in.
one
That's all I
off
can
the
tell you.
body,
Keep
and,
your elbow in.
Fender sent me
Don't
a
do
bunch
this
of
shit.
necks because I like the way this neck feels. And Seymour put
ridiculous.
these
Keep your elbow
pickups
in. You don't
together
need to do
here,
that.
although we kept the covers on, so they look stock.
Sure.
Maybe out here a
And we
little.
changed the electronics underneath the bottom of it, slightly on the electronics for the Clapton, and it just looks really great.
I don't know why I was
And
losing
it
my
plays really
volume there, but
And
I
how
was.
cool that you made it.
And then Norwich sets it up. He goes through everything and figures out that the neck was slightly
Always know
different
what
angle,
open
the arch
strings
and
you
the
can
intonation.
pedal
I
off
think
of,
he's just brilliant.
depending
Probably
on
the
the
best
key you're in.
Luther-
It's over.
Luther-
Can't use a lot of them in like,
Luthier.
E flat.
Almost as good as Luther.
Black ones. They're like,
He's probably the best luthier I've
B
ever
minor.
worked with. I had the pleasure of dealing with. So anyway, that's my goal. It was just a hodgepodge
You can use.
parts, and I have a bunch of necks and bodies and stuff, and I'm going to build one that's got a Sustainiac in it.
You
because
can
I've
use
been
the
doing
G
a bunch
'cause
of
it's-
shows with JY, and
Oh, cool.
he was telling me, oh, you got to use the Sustainiac. with
It's in the
little
scale.
switches to turn it on and off, and so probably going to build one of those and clone together a bunch of odd parts and build something with that.
Very cool. So can you show me a loop guitar?
Absolutely. So, this is the typical brand
That's
new
the D.
off-the-shelf Lucator. Luke came out and played on my last solo record. He was the only other guitarist that I invited to play on my record. And it was really...
That's cool.
It was really because when we first started getting ready to make that record,
Pick this up.
I sat down and really made a good roadmap of who I would have play and do all this stuff. And anyway, he came in and played on this one song called Road to Forever. I love Luke, but I used this guitar because back at Hell Freezes Over, we had to do a couple of Henry's solo songs. And I think it's all she wants to do is dance.
Oh, yeah.
And Luke has a solo in that. And so before the first show that we did, which is in California, I said, I can't walk out in front of Steve Lukather. He's going to be sitting in the second row and play his solo without some sort of tribute to him. So I called my boss and said, you got to sing me a Luke guitar, because I think it would be a nice tip of the hat to Luke to play his guitar on his solo. So I went out and played it, and he came back and said, that's the coolest thing ever does. Well, I was just embarrassed to do it with, a Fender or a Strat. I figured I'd give you the tip of the hat. It's like a sales pitch for, the Luke guitars. And then, so we just become really great friends. And so I still carry one of these in my rig, and I use this on You Don't Have Me, which is one of the songs that was on my CD, Road to Forever. And it's just a tip of the hat to Luke.
Awesome. What do you plan on having that?
Les Paul.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Do you want to look at what I use? Pedals and amps and stuff?
Please, that'd be great. Okay, so this is a refreshingly modest pedal board.
Well, I'm a firm believer in, most of the tone comes out of your head. It doesn't come out of a bunch of effects pedals. And if you have a good guitar and you're a good player, you can get by with very little extra bells and whistles. Sure, I've seen a lot of players that have these giant Bradshaw racks and these digital, I won't name brand, digital kind of simulators and that sort of stuff, and I just never think they sound like a real guitar. If you want to have that 90s fake guitar sound, that's really the rig you want to use. And all the records that I've made, I think the most elaborate setup I ever used on record was 59 Les Paul, 57 T Deluxe, old Boss Chorus, I think it's a CH1, it's got the knobs and the preamp on it, and an Echoplex. And that was heavy metal. So like, you know, that's as elaborate as it gets. There's a little bit of echo and a little bit of chorus, and I don't really need much other than that. So to sound like I do on record, if I had a big Bradshaw rack or a bunch of other things, it just wouldn't make sense. Like the long, but plus, I like lean and mean. This is really easy. It goes right into the case, rolls right into the truck, and boom, plug in one power strip and a guitar plug and ready to go. So it's very simple. Basically, it's an OCD made by Felder, and that's probably the best sounding, most realistic slight distortion pedal I've ever used. When you're playing live, you can't always turn the amp up as loud as you need to get that overdrive and sustain. So I can use just a little bit of that as almost like a preamp booster to not go overboard on distortion, but just to get that little extra edge and sustain you need. But this pedal works particularly well because when you turn down the volume on the guitar, the level of distortion doesn't go away, which is unusual. Like with other distortion pedals, when you turn down the volume of the guitar, the level of distortion diminishes too. This level stays the same, but the volume just goes down. So your tone remains the same pretty much at whatever level, whether it's playing rhythm or you're playing lead, which is more natural. I've always used bosses as far as digital delays. You see I have two of them. One is set for the time delay for Hotel California, the tempo for that, the BPM, beat spin on it. And the other one has that V on it, a set for Victim. When I'm playing Victim Alive, I turn off one and I turn on the other. It's that simple. It's set for the proper slot for the tempo of Victim Alive, the 3 against 4 and the notch 4. I use another little, chorus by Boss. I really like their pedals. They're very simple. They're very clean. They're very easy to maintain, and all you gotta do is, if you keep a battery on, just as backup, you don't need to do a lot of fixing. Really easy to tune them in, and I've just been a big fan of those. They're lean and mean and simple, easy. I used a tuner over here, Peterson tuners, which if during the show I need to just touch up.
Scissors, who was going to try the trick first, and just win it. As technology advanced and there's cameras on phones and there's just more accessibility to share that content, it made the world a difference. What do you have in store for me? I'm excited. It's so clear as day right here. It's amazing. This might look familiar.
Digging it.
1440.
Yeah. I'm digging it. Everything's okay.
So you can see right here is kind of where the
everything's all right.
Right? Because everybody thinks it's in the air, but it's not. It's right here.
Whoa! I used to do this as a kid.
Everything happens off the lip.
We built one in our backyard, 14 feet high. 14 feet exactly to the platform. We stole the wood down the road to do it. We almost got arrested later, but we paid for it. My dad paid for it. Oh, I cannot lick them all the way down. I crunched them. How about you? Can't do it.
Exhausted. Wake up to Zap Bound.
No commercial, please.
Something while I'm talking, I can turn that on with the pedal
classic.
swung around before me, and I can just kind of tune by ear, and then
I
I
got
can turn
old-
that off and just check how close I am.
I got a lot of old
without
stuff,
doing
man. I
something
got a
else.
rat pedal,
I love these
MXR.
talk boxes. I used to carry with the Eagles when we did Those Shoes Live. I used to carry a separate amp head
Original.
and a regular talk box, which Joe and I made out of the old drivers for like
my
theaters,
very first
movie
setup.
theater speakers. When you rip the
My very first setup was a deluxe reverb and an MXR distortion. That mother had to be unplugged on the input or your batteries run down. It was just like that. No wall wart. But you didn't even use, you turned it on and he put it on 0. You didn't even use like that would like make it like the sound of tearing paper. I hate that, like digital distortion. But like the rat pedal, you don't dial it up. You leave it on 0. There is no numbers, but you leave it on 0 and just run it through. It does a compression thing. Guys like it, like what's his name? He loves Van Halen. What is that guy? Nuno. Yeah, Betancourt, man. I like the imagination. Everything you just saw me do is just rock and roll, blues, rock guitar, and some little interesting combinations between modes. A mode to me, I mean, it's just a feeling, and I run across all the modes just by accident. I mean, I'm like Jim Brewer of a guitar player. Sorry. Hey. Eric Johnson. Bye.